Well, hey guys, welcome back to Character Corner. My name is Mr. Chad, and I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Now I've got a question. What does balloons, a porcupine, and our five senses have to do with gratefulness? Well, we're going to find out today. You see, today we're going to be learning an important concept on gratefulness, and that aspect is, how do I count my benefits rather than my burdens? All right, are you ready to learn? Here we go. Well, hey guys, guess what? Today we're gonna go exploring the woods. Now, do you like being out in the forest or out in nature? I don't know about you, but I love it. There's so many cool things to see, animals and plants. Anyway, today we're gonna look for a special creature that shows gratefulness. They might say, what? An animal that shows gratefulness? I know, it's true. There are those different animals that express different things. Because, for example, gratefulness is letting others know by my words and actions how they benefit in my life. Now, obviously, animals can't talk, but they can sing. And today we're gonna go find an animal that can sing. We're looking today for a porcupine. A porcupine. Now, I know porcupine's like, what? That's crazy. But we're gonna go find one, okay? Ready? Come on, let's go. All right, guys, well, as we're heading out, here's what a porcupine looks like. Helps to know what you're looking for, right? Okay, so here, take a good look. Now let's go see if we can find one. Once there was this man, and he was out walking in the woods. And he loved getting out. And guys, I'd encourage you to get out into the forest or just get out in a park. Enjoy being outdoors because there's so many wonderful things to see. There's incredible trees to see and plant life, animals, birds, so many amazing things. Well, this man was out. And as he was hiking along, all of a sudden, an animal caught his eye on the distance. And so he stopped. And guys, that's a really great tip. When you're out in nature and all of a sudden you see an animal, don't scream, don't run away, just stop and observe and watch real closely. And that's what he did. And so he stopped and he watched, and that animal was waddling through the grass. And you could see kind of the grass moving and stuff. And whilst he stopped and watched, and pretty soon it stopped, stood up, and it started sniffing the air. I thought, what in the world is that? Well, it kept going, and pretty soon it stopped right on the trail that he was on, way up there, stood up on his hind legs again and sniffed the air. And he realized it was a porcupine. Now, why do porcupines sniff the air? You see, they've got a problem. They don't have good eyesight. Now, a porcupine can't see very well, but it has an incredible nose. And so what it will do is it'll leave scent trails all throughout the forest, and that way it'll know where it is in the woods. So, this porcupine was sniffing the air to figure out where it was in the woods. Well, all of a sudden the man saw that the porcupine started coming toward him. And it got closer and closer, and it stopped right before him, stood up on its hind legs again, and sniffed again. He thought, what am I gonna do? Now remember, do you run away in the forest? No, you don't run away. You stop and wait and watch these animals, okay? Well, this porcupine started getting closer and closer, and it sniffed his boot. And it came right up and started sniffing his boot, and then guess what? It went chomp. It took a bite out of his boot. Now again, did he run? Did he scream? No. He stayed real still. And he's thinking, what is this porcupine doing? Taking a bite out of my boot. Now he didn't get hurt because it just bit a little bit of his boot. And then guess what? The porcupine, it just waddled and went on its way. Why did a porcupine do that? You see, porcupines, they're not crazy. They just love salt. They love it. And so he had some salt on his boot through his perspiration. And so when it smelled the salt and said, hey, I like salt, and took a bite and kept on going. So guys, you know what? Even though porcupines, they can be, you might think, oh, they're kind of crazy. You got to stand up and smell the air. They're not crazy. They just can't see very well. Or you might think, oh man, they're just, that's weird. They just, take a bite out of somebody's boot. Well, they're not weird. They just really love salt. Man, it's a great day for a walk. Wow, I just love being outside. Guys, look over there. Wow, wasn't that amazing being able to see that little porcupine? They're kind of cute little animals, aren't they? Now, the other amazing thing that I noticed, and I don't know if you noticed it too, but it was going across that small little branch, across that water, that creek. It's amazing. How is that possible though? You know, porcupines have really sharp claws. And not only do they have sharp claws, their claws are kind of curved like this, so it lets them have really good grip. And then also, their paws are really soft, so it gives them a good grip when they're hanging on to, whether it's a branch like that when it's going across the creek, or did you know that porcupines are even known to climb trees up to over 60 feet in the air? And not only climb them, but to sleep at the top of the tree all night long. Wow, can you imagine climbing all the way to the top and then sleeping there all night, not falling out? Well, come on, let's go see what else we can learn about a porcupine. You know, porcupines, they're really fun animals. Now, oftentimes you wouldn't want one as a pet because of all their quills. Did you know that a porcupine has over 30,000 quills? And quills are so sharp, they're sharper than a needle. In fact, if you get poked with one, there's these little barbs on it, and it can stick, and it's super hard to get out. And that's why it's very dangerous to be around porcupines. Now, often one misconception about a porcupine is that they throw their quills. But that's actually not true, because you see, a porcupine, what happens is that their tail often moves so fast, that's what makes it seem like they're shooting their quills. But they really don't. They have to come in contact with something first, and then that's when it'll actually stick to something. Can you imagine 33,000 quills? Well, guys, guess what? I've got a story about a porcupine and its quills. You ready? Come on, let's go. There was once a man asleep in his bed. He was out in the deep woods at a nice cabin, and he was sleeping in his bed. The covers were tucked up under his chin, and he was just sleeping. And all of a sudden, in the stillness of the night, he heard this sound. It's like, what is that terrible sound? He tried to ignore it, but it just didn't go away. He pulled the covers over his head and just kept going and going and going. Finally, he's like, I can't sleep. What is making that horrible noise? So he gets out of bed, stumbles out of bed, looks around for his flashlight, finds his flashlight, turns it on, goes toward, and he realizes it's coming toward the front of the cabin, outside on the front porch. So he drearily goes out there and trying to shine his light. Like, what in the world is making that horrible noise? And he comes and he opens the door and shines his flashlight, and there, on his front porch, on the steps of the porch, was a porcupine. And you know what it was doing? That porcupine was chewing on his steps. It's sitting there going, and then he stopped when he was showing the light at it. Porcupine turned and looked at him. He went back and just kept on eating. Chomp, 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 chomp. Well, the man was not in his right mind. He was so exhausted, so tired, so frustrated, and so ticked off at this porcupine for chewing on his front steps, that with one big swift motion, he went, yeah, get off my porch, and he kicked him. And he kicked him, and the porcupine was like, blah, blah, boom, 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 down the steps. But then all of a sudden, the man did something else. He went, yeah, ow, 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 ow. And he looked down at his foot with his flashlight, and his foot looked like a little porcupine. Ah! You see, porcupines have really sharp quills. And this man got stuck with them, and guess what he did the rest of the night? No, he didn't go to sleep. He sat there and took every one of those quills out, and it was painful and it was hard. Now, here's the thing, guys. Porcupines, they're not mean. They're just really dangerous, right? They have a lot of quills. But you see, the porcupine uses its quills for self-defense. Now, it's not aggressive with it. It's how it protects itself. In fact, hey, I've got a video to show you about this. Now watch. There's a leopard, and the leopard tries to get the porcupine, but watch how the porcupine defends itself. This is super cool. One day, there was a bear. And this bear was out in the woods, walking along, and all of a sudden there was a porcupine over there. And this bear didn't like any other animals in its territory. And so this bear let out a growl. Roar! Well, you know what the porcupine did? The porcupine didn't run away because actually porcupines aren't very fast. Instead, what the porcupine did is he waddled up to a tree. And he waddled, and he waddled, and he waddled. And he came up, and he found this big old log, and he came up to it, and you know what he did? He stuck his head right down by it. Just like that. Now, why would a porcupine do that? It's not because they're scared, but actually it's because they have soft heads. A porcupine's head is so soft and so tender that just one hit mark or one claw swipe with a bear, it would totally kill it. And so this porcupine waddled up, put its head right down, and stayed there. Now the bear was furious. And as it came, it roared again, roar! And it came up, and the porcupine didn't run away, and it was furious that it didn't leave. So it came up, and it took a big old bite. Arr! And as soon as it did that, it realized it had made a horrible mistake because all the quills were stuck in its mouth. It was like, ah, ah, and it tried to whack them away, but it couldn't. And so it took off, racing out into the woods. And again, porcupines are not scared, but they just have soft heads. And so because of its quills, though, the quills are what protect them from predators or animals that want to harm them. And so it has a lot to be grateful for. It has a gratefulness. It can be grateful for all those quills it has because it can protect them even from big old bears. Wow, that's amazing. It's been super cool learning about the porcupine today. You know, though, when you think of a porcupine and you look at a porcupine and all the problems that it has, like, you know, it's got a soft head, it has so many quills that people are like, it's super dangerous. It waddles around, and it has poor eyesight. It can't even see very far. You know, looking at those challenges, it can be easy for a porcupine to have a bad attitude. You know, kind of be like this animal walks around the woods, kind of like ticked off and you know, chases other animals and tries to get back at them. Just like maybe you and I, right? Sometimes it's easy to look around and be like, that person's such a jerk, or, oh, I don't like them, or, oh, they're so mean, or, oh, this is terrible, whatever. It's easy to look around and start counting all the things that are going wrong for us. But you know what? The porcupine, even though it has all these problems, when you look at it, the porcupine actually can, rather than counting its burdens, it can actually count the benefits. And that's what we're learning about today, right? Counting our benefits rather than our burdens. You see what? A porcupine has a soft head, right? Yeah. But what? It has all those quills to protect it. And you know what? Maybe it can't see very well, but what does it have instead? It has an incredible sense of smell. And just imagine all the things it can enjoy out in the forest because it can smell all the different fragrance and the aromas, the flowers or the sap on trees or just different things like that. The water goes by and just, it can smell so much more. You know, sometimes, guys, porcupines aren't looked as the brightest or the best or the cutest. But you know what? Despite all that, it's kind of cool. The porcupine demonstrates gratefulness, I think, in this special way because it sings. It has a cute little song that it sings. And you know what? It's super hard to sing when you're mad. And especially if you're mad trying to whistle, you can't do it. But guess what? A porcupine has this little happy song that chirps and sings. And I feel it just kind of is a way to express the joy that it has in its heart. And guys, I think there's a lot we can learn from a porcupine. We can learn how instead of focusing on the negative things, we can choose to focus on what's good. You want to hear porcupine sing? It's super cool. Come on, let's listen. Wasn't that cool hearing the porcupine sing? That is so fun. So guys, here's our challenge for this week. I'm going to challenge you to look for 5 things every day that you can honestly be grateful for. Look for 5 things every day for the next week. And I'm going to do that too. Because guys, again, we have to train our brain. How do we think that way? How do we look for the good rather than just always looking for the bad in our lives? And then that could allow us to kind of be like the porcupine. Even though there might be a lot of problems, but there's actually a lot more things that are going right for them that we can be grateful for. So ready? This week, look for 5 things every single day that you can be grateful for, okay? Here we go. Let's do this. Let's do this together. And now, let's keep learning more about how you and I can show gratefulness through the lessons that we're going to learn. Have you ever had a situation where you've gotten maybe a brand new backpack or some new shoes or a new shirt, and all of a sudden you started noticing that a lot of people have the same one? Maybe you got a cool purple backpack with polka dots, and all of a sudden you notice, oh, those kids at school, look at how many of them have the same thing. Or maybe you have some really cool shoes that have a unique color or a stripe or something to them, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's one there, there's one there, there's one there. Or have you ever had it maybe where your family got a different car? You're like, oh my goodness, look at how many red cars are out here on the road, or look at how many gray cars are out here on the road, or how many blue, or whatever color your car is. You start noticing them, whereas you didn't even notice them really before. I mean, yeah, maybe you might notice 1 or 2, but also now you're just seeing them everywhere. Has that ever happened to you? That's happened to me several times. Now, it's just not something that's weird. That's like, okay, that's kind of weird. Instead, that's a really cool thing that our brain does. You see, in the brain, it's called our reticular activating system. Our reticular activating system. And that what happens is that all of a sudden our brain becomes familiar with something, like we have a different color car. We got a blue-gray car or whatever, right? And all of a sudden, because we have that, now our brain recognizes that, oh, hey, that's important to you. And so all of a sudden now it starts pointing out all the different blue-gray cars out there, or the different red cars, or the different backpacks that, you got a backpack now. Look at all these kids that have the same backpack, or the same shirt or pants, whatever. You see, our brains are so incredible. In fact, I was just reading a book by one of the top neurosurgeons of the world. And he was describing that if you had somebody come up, let's say on a big stage, somebody came up and there was about 2,500 people out in the audience. If that person came and looked out there just for a couple seconds and then went and sat down, 30 years later, you could go, if you touch just the right part of the brain just to stimulate the right thing, if we knew how to do that, that person could instantly recall every single one of the 2,500 people that were sitting in the audience. They could remember their faces. Now they can remember their faces. They could remember exactly what they were wearing. That's how much information our brain takes in. It's like taking photographs all the time. In fact, you've probably heard of somebody that has a photographic memory. That's the thing. They instantly just remember everything. And the challenge they face is that they're not able to filter stuff because it's all right there. Whereas our brains, most of our brains, what we'll do is we kind of filter out the stuff that's not necessary, or what our brain feels is not necessary. We kind of filter that out. But that's where all of a sudden we get a different color car, we get a different color backpack or shirt. All of a sudden our brain recognizes it and it starts helping us recognize that as we're going. It's pretty amazing. Our brains are incredible, but here's the thing, guys. We have to program our brain of what to focus in on. You see, has this ever happened to you where maybe you've been working your math and you're working on it, and then you turn it in and you get it back and you got like a D or an F. It's like, oh, I'm such a failure. I can't get this. Oh, I'm no good at math. Guys, be careful, because if we start telling ourselves that, guess what happens? Other things will happen where we'll do something maybe we weren't very good at, and it kicks in. We're like, oh, I'm just not very good at this. Oh, I can't do this. We start developing this attitude of I can't do this. I can't do it right. And that's a dangerous path to go down. You see, guys, it's so important that we count our benefits rather than counting our burdens. And counting our burdens would be just that, like, oh, I can't do this, or I can't do that, or that person, they're always mean to me, or in fact, that person's mean to me too. And we start looking at the negative rather than choosing to look at the positive, because it's a choice. I'm going to give you an example, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put up on the screen here, I'm going to put up some red balloons, okay? And I want you to count how many red balloons there are. Now, you're not going to have very much time, so I want you to focus on it, count as quick as you can. Ready? Because what we're going to do is we're going to train our brain how to focus. Okay, so ready? Here we go. I'm giving you 3 seconds. Ready, set, go. Okay, 3 seconds. Whew! That went by fast, didn't it? Tell me, how many balloons were there? Oh, would you say 5? Oh, it wasn't 5. That was a good try. 7. Oh, that's getting closer, but it wasn't 7. 9. Oh, you got it. There were 9 balloons. 9 red balloons. Now, wow. How do we do that, though? We did it because we're focusing in on that. And guys, here's a challenge for us, and that's to focus on the good. Focus on the good things that are going on around us. You know, maybe that's like we have a brother or sister. Maybe that sometimes they annoy us, right? Does that ever happen to you? Of course, right? But instead of always focusing in on, oh, they're so annoying. Look at they do this and this, just whatever. I'm going to challenge you this week. Start looking for the things they're doing good. And you're like, what? They don't do anything good. Okay. Remember, though, it's what you focus in on that's important. So what we're going to do is focus in on, hey, look, they picked up after themselves, or they did this, or they did that. Now, I'm not saying they do it all the time, right? Because they're like, my sister never picks up after herself, or my brother always leaves his toys out. Not saying that, but look for those little slivers of them doing good, because sometimes I think we'll be surprised at realizing, hey, they actually said a kind thing here, or they did this here, and hey, they did that over there. And pretty soon we start recognizing more and more the good things they're doing, and we focus on that, and it kind of helps cut down on those things that annoy us. Now here's an example, okay? So we figured out how many red balloons there were, right? Now here's a question, how many purple balloons were there? Wait, somebody give me some blank stares like, what? Were there purple ones? There were purple ones in there, right? Oh wait, 3? Okay, there weren't 3. 5? Oh, there weren't 5. Now here's the thing, guys. Why didn't we see the purple balloons? It's because we weren't looking for them, right? We're only looking for the red. Just like if we're only looking for the negative things that people around us are doing or the negative things that I do, that's what I'm going to see. That's what you're going to see. But if I choose to switch my thinking to look at the good, that'll help now me start recognizing my brain. Tell my brain, I want you to find the good things that are happening in my life, in the people around me. I want you to look for the good. Our brains will start finding those good things, and it's going to surprise us. So here you go. Ready? I want you to count the purple balloons. Ready? Here we go. Ready? Go. Okay, time's up. Wow. How many did you find? Ooh, that's pretty good. 7 balloons. You're right. Now, why was it you were able to find that? Again, because you were looking for it. So guys, this week, I want you to choose to look for the good in others rather than just always looking for the negative things. Because that's going to help you practice our I will for this week of learning to count my benefits rather than counting my burdens. All right, let's do this, okay? And let's go find those good things that are happening all around us.
Wow, I'm learning so much about counting my benefits rather than my burdens. Let's all stretch and say our definition together. Gratefulness is letting others know by my words and actions how they have benefited my life. Fantastic. Let's go see what our friends have to teach us about gratefulness.
So sometimes it's very easy to complain about the stuff you have to do. Maybe it's having to sit in front of a computer screen and read and work on school all day long, or maybe having to work and do chores and clean, or maybe even just having to listen to people telling you what to do. But what if you chose to not complain about those things and instead count the benefits? Because imagine the schoolwork you have to do if you couldn't see. So my friend Miss Emily is going to help us understand this a little bit better. Miss Emily, yes. Will you draw for me on the whiteboard a picture of someone working on a computer? Yes. Oh, but wait, you're going to have to be blindfolded. Blindfolded? Yes. So okay. You're going to not be able to use your sense of sight while you draw this picture.
Okay.
So move right over here and a little bit further. There you go. Right and here? Draw us a picture, yes. Yes, a person sitting at a computer. She's doing pretty good.
I think I'm done.
Okay. We'll take the blindfold off and you can see what you think. What? That was pretty good. The mouse is sort of floating and it's a little hard to understand. Do you think it would have been easier if you could have been able to see it?
Yeah, I think it would have been a lot easier.
I think you're right. Thank you so much, Miss Emily. You see, guys, I've seen Miss Emily draw before and she does a fantastic job. But when she wasn't able to see, that made it really difficult and it looks a little bit strange. So when you have to do schoolwork, you can be grateful for the ability to see. But what about things like chores? How can we find a benefit in doing chores? Well, my friend, Miss Victoria, she is going to help us understand the benefit of being able to work with your hands. So, Miss Victoria, here's what we're going to do.
Okay.
I would like you to make a really quick little bracelet with these beads and this string. But you have to wear these.
Okay.
But give it your best try.
Okay.
It's pretty tricky to do just about anything when you can't feel and you can't move your fingers. Okay, you can do it. Don't give up. Ooh, ooh, she almost has it, guys. One bead escaped, but that's okay. Try one more. It's kind of taking a long time.
I don't know if I can actually do it.
Okay, one more try, and then I think we better move on.
No.
Okay, that's all right. I think that's going to be a little bit too hard. How fast do you think you could have done it if you could just use your hands?
I could have done it really fast.
I think you've done it very quickly and very easily, huh? Because you have that sense of touch. And because you have that, you can do really cool things like making jewelry and other fun things with your hands. And you can also use it to do your chores. Thank you so much, Miss Victoria. So guys, you have the ability to use your hands. And you might not like some of the things you have to do, but there's also so many benefits. What about when people have to tell you what to do? It's not very fun sometimes to just listen and have to do things. But being able to hear is an amazing benefit. And my friend, Mr. Josiah, is going to help us understand this benefit. Mr. Josiah, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to explain to you how to build a small tower with these blocks. But you aren't going to be able to hear anything. So you have to try to know what you need to do without being able to hear my instruction.
All right.
So here's a spot. And you try to build what I tell you to build. So you'll need all of the small thin blocks, and you're going to stack them up about maybe 4 inches tall, and then put a tall square triangle on top. Go for it. So Mr. Josiah is trying to do what I told him to do, but he didn't hear anything I told him to do. So he just has to guess at what he's supposed to make. I wonder what he thinks I said. Okay, you can take them off.
Is that it?
Well, not exactly. I kind of said it should be a tower about 4 inches tall, but a little bit of it was right. But you couldn't hear what I was saying, and so you weren't able to do it exactly right.
Not quite.
Thank you, Mr. Josiah.
All right.
You see, guys, you might not enjoy having to be told what to do and listen to people give you instruction, but being able to hear is an amazing benefit to be grateful for. Helen Keller once said this: "So much has been given to me, I have no time to ponder over that which has been denied." And Helen Keller, when she was about 2 years old, she got really, really sick, and it resulted in her being both blind and deaf. She wasn't able to see or hear, and life was very challenging for her. But she was choosing to count her benefits. And she wrote books, and she toured the world, and she did many amazing things. And you have that choice to either be grateful for the benefits that you have or to complain about the hard things. So I encourage you, whenever you have to do something hard like chores or maybe working on schoolwork, think of the senses that you're using to do those things and be grateful for those.
Thank you for coming with me to explore what gratefulness looks like in everyday life. I have learned so much, and I'm sure you have too. The key to learning is not just learning new information, but practicing it. Choose your favorite thing that you've learned about gratefulness, review it, and practice it, because practice makes permanent. And remember, gratefulness is letting others know by my words and actions how they have benefited my life. I'll see you on another adventure of what character looks like in everyday life.